My grandmother always say a mother's spirit never truly leaves her children. I didn't believe her until I saw it happen with my own eyes, and I swear, if I hadn't been there, I would have called it a lie. It began in the most unusual way, a man fighting his own brother, though neither of them knew it. And the rest of us, standing there like fools, watching two identical grown men beat the life out of each other while we prayed for a miracle. But I'll start from the beginning. Their mother was a woman of strength, or so the elders said. She fought through more than 9 months of trouble like no other. Her belly swelled so much the villagers swore she was carrying elephants, not babies. The villagers gossiped behind her after they realized she had been pregnant for 16 months. The poor woman paid no mind. But when the day of birth came, it was as if the earth itself split open. Her screams could be heard across the fields, but no one was around to come to her aid. Most people were scared of helping her, thinking she might cause them trouble or harm. She labored for 8 hours before she birthed them in the dead of night, 2 baby boys, screaming even louder than their mother. She named them Tolu and Dami. Tolu came first, strong as a bull, fist already clenched. Dami followed, smaller, quieter, but with eyes that saw too much. 3 years later, their mother died. Some say her soul was too tired to stay after carrying such trouble. With no father to care for them, the villagers did what they thought was best: they split the twins. Tolu was taken to the palace. They named him Adeyemi. He was raised by the king's men, who saw his strength and promised to make him a warrior. Dami was handed to a family on the edge of the village, poor people who worked day and night just to eat. They named him Habib. And so they grew up. By the time Adeyemi was 18, he was no longer a boy. He was a wall of muscle, his voice deep enough to make grown men shiver. They called him Ogan's Hammer, the king's warlord. Wherever trouble was, Adeyemi was sent. He never lost a fight. People cheered for him, but I always noticed something in his eyes when the crowd went quiet. It might be loneliness. He didn't laugh. He didn't smile. His sword was his only friend. But Habib's life was different. He grew up on scraps, learning to fight for every piece of bread. By 17, he was fighting grown men in street brawls for money. By 20, people paid to see him fight. They called him the Ghost because he moved so fast. If you blink, you'd miss him. He was famous in the market squares and shady alleys. But Habib didn't fight for glory. He fought to survive. He fought because that's all he knew. And like his brother, he carried that same look and emptiness in his eyes, like something was missing. Why didn't anyone tell them the truth? Shame and fear. The villagers believed that twins were bound by fate to bring either great fortune or disaster. They convinced themselves that keeping the twins apart would protect the village from whatever destiny they carried. They continued growing gradually until trouble came in the form of raiders, a ruthless band that attacked villages, burning homes, stealing livestock, and enslaving the young. They were growing bolder, threatening the king's rule and the villagers' survival. The terror was organized by the bandit king. This was a man who came with fire and chaos, burning villages and stealing whatever he wanted. He had hundreds of men under him, and not even the king's warriors could stop him. The king, in his desperation, sent Adeyemi to find this bandit and stop him. At the same time, the bandits attacked Habib's village. They burned homes and injured people. Habib, furious, grabbed his fist and swore to take them down himself. And so it happened that two brothers, one a warlord, the other a street fighter, found themselves chasing the same man. Neither of them knew the truth about the other until this certain day. It looks as if they both had the same plan to capture the bandit king. It was a clearing in the forest, where the bandit king made his camp to rest and plan on how to terrorize another village. But while they were on it, Adeyemi with some other king's warrior ambushed them with a sword in hand, slashing through bandits like dry grass. I was there, hiding behind a tree, too scared to move. Then Habib came, with bare hands, blood on his knuckles, tearing through men like a storm. At first, they didn't see each other. But when they did, two giants stopped in the center of the camp. Smoke rose around them, and the remaining bandits fled into the forest. I held my breath. Who are you? Adeyemi backed, his sword pointing straight at Habib. I should ask you the same, Habib shot back, fist raised. Neither spoke another word. They rushed at each other like two wild bulls. Adeyemi swung his sword, Habib ducked. Habib landed a punch so hard it echoed through the trees. Adeyemi staggered but didn't fall. The fight went on, minutes that felt like hours. Both of them bleeding. Both of them refusing to stop. And we just watched. At this moment, nobody cared about the escaping bandit king who fled with the rest of his men. Then, as Habib grabbed Adeyemi's wrist to stop his sword, the light hit their faces. And for the first time, I saw it. Their faces. The same eyes. The same stubborn jaw. A silence fell over us. Even they stopped moving, breathing hard. Adeyemi stared at Habib. Who are you? He whispered. And that's when the old priest, who already knew what was happening, stepped forward. He told them the truth. The story of their mother. The story of their birth. And those two men, those two warriors who had spent their lives fighting, dropped their weapons. Adeyemi sank to his knees. Habib stared at the ground. And then they laughed. Not because it was funny, but because fate had played a joke so cruel that all they could do was laugh. Together, they hunted the bandit king. Together, they fought like brothers who had been training side by side for years. Adeyemi's strength and Habib's speed made them unstoppable. When they brought the bandit king back to the palace, the villagers cheered louder than ever before. But Adeyemi and Habib didn't stay. They left the village that night. No one knows where they went, but I heard rumors of two men helping villages rebuild, teaching people to fight, and becoming legends. I think they were trying to make their mother proud. And me. I tell their story, because it's the kind of tale you don't forget. The two who didn't know. But they found each other in the end.